The name on the tombstone was mine, Sato Kenji, and right below it, the date of death was last Tuesday. I stared at it, the cheap funeral wreath made of plastic lilies digging into my neck. It was a nice touch, I guess. Festive. I didn't remember dying. I didn't remember the last year at all. My head felt like it was stuffed with cotton candy, but the kind that had been left out in the rain, sticky and useless. Okay, Kenji, I said to myself, my voice sounding hoarse. You're in a cemetery. You have a floral necklace. You are not a ghost. Ghosts don't have to worry about stepping in pigeon poop. I looked down at my shoe. Yep, pigeon poop. Very alive, very annoyed. I had no wallet, no phone, and no idea how I got there. The last thing I remembered was getting a promotion at work, and my boyfriend Taro making us a celebratory dinner. That was a year ago. My memory was a big blank whiteboard. Finding my way home was a nightmare. I had to beg for train fare, telling a very skeptical station attendant that I was a time traveler who'd lost his wallet. He didn't buy it, but he gave me the money just to get rid of me. My apartment was in a familiar building. I felt a rush of relief as I climbed the stairs. Home. Everything would make sense once I was home. I put my key in the lock. It didn't fit. I tried again. Nope. I knocked. A woman with a screaming baby opened the door. Yes? She snapped, trying to soothe the baby. I live here, I said, pointing inside. I'm Sato Kenji. She looked at me like I'd just asked to borrow her baby. No, you don't. I've lived here for 6 months. The landlord said the previous tenant died. My blood, which I was pretty sure I still had, turned to ice. Died? Yeah, sad story. His boyfriend found him. Now, if you don't mind, the baby is teething and you're not helping. She slammed the door in my face. So, I was dead. That was new. And my boyfriend, Taro, had found my body. Except my body was currently standing in a hallway, very much not dead. It was like a really depressing, confusing episode of a soap opera. My next stop was Taro's place. It was a nice, modern apartment. I had a key to this one, too. I used it. The door swung open, and I walked in. Everything was different. New furniture, new art on the walls. And there, on the kitchen counter, was a wedding invitation. Taro and Yamada Hiroshi. My heart didn't just break. It did a dramatic swan dive off a cliff. But then, a man came out of the bedroom. He was handsome, with a confident smile. Taro followed right behind him, looking happier than I'd ever seen him. This was the new guy, Yamada Hiroshi. I was frozen, still wearing my stupid plastic flower necklace. Taro saw me. His face went completely white. Kenji? He whispered, looking like he'd seen a ghost, which, considering my situation, was ironic. Hey, Taro, I said, trying to sound casual. Nice place. Like what you've done with everything. Hiroshi just stared, a strange, unreadable expression on his face. He didn't seem scared, just very, very interested. Taro started crying. You're dead! We had a funeral! I saw you in the coffin! Oh my god, am I going crazy? I looked at Hiroshi. He was trying to hide a smirk. A cold shiver went down my spine. I don't remember anything, I explained, gesturing to my head. My memory is a big blank space. The doctor said you had a brain aneurysm, Taro sobbed. You just collapsed at work. The hospital called me. I looked at Hiroshi. I didn't know why, but I was suddenly sure. Hiroshi? The doctor was you, wasn't it? Hiroshi finally spoke. His voice was smooth as silk. Taro, darling, this man seems confused. He's obviously a look-alike. He walked over to me and put a hand on my shoulder. The moment he touched me, a flash of memory hit me. Loud, angry yelling, a hospital room, Hiroshi's face leaning over me. "It's okay, Kenji. Just go to sleep." And then a sharp pain. My body remembered what my mind had erased. The fight, the betrayal. Hiroshi had been a colleague I'd beaten for a promotion. He'd been furious. He was a doctor at the hospital, and he'd signed my death certificate. He tried to kill me. He'd given me a drug to make it look like an aneurysm, and when I didn't die, he just dumped me in the cemetery? It was the worst plan ever. I pulled away from him. "I remember," I said, my voice shaking. "I remember you, you bastard. You tried to kill me." Taro gasped. "What?" Hiroshi's smirk disappeared. "This is ridiculous. Taro, call the police. This man is a delusional stalker." I knew I had to get out of there. I couldn't prove anything. I just had a hazy memory and a hunch. I ran out of the apartment, leaving Taro looking utterly confused and Hiroshi looking murderous. I was now a dead man with a live man's problems. I had no money, no home, and a murderous doctor fiancé of my ex-boyfriend wanted me gone for good. I needed a plan. I needed a job. The only skill I had was that I was a corporate accountant. I knew the company where or rather the dead me, used to work, Universal Holdings. And I knew Taro worked there too, in the marketing department. It was a risk, but I was desperate. I got a fake ID from a guy who owed me a favor from my past life. I still remembered some things, thankfully. My new name was Tanaka Kenji. Creative, I know. I applied for a junior accounting position at Universal Holdings. I aced the interview. Who knew how to do the job better than the guy who'd been doing it for years? A week later, I was sitting in a cubicle, pretending to be a guy who'd never seen a spreadsheet before. It was like going into witness protection, but with a lot more data entry. The first day was torture. I saw Taro in the hallway. Our eyes met. He froze for a second, then shook his head and walked away. He thought he'd seen a ghost. He was technically right. Then I saw Hiroshi. He was striding through the office, looking like he owned the place. He'd recently been made head of a new medical division the company was starting. A perfect cover. He saw me, and his face went pale. He marched over to my cubicle. "Tanaka-san," he said, his voice low and menacing. "A word." He dragged me into an empty conference room. "What the hell are you doing here, Kenji? Or should I say, Tanaka? Are you insane?" "Just trying to make a living," I said, shrugging. "You know, like a normal living person." "You have to leave," he hissed. "Taro is mine. He thinks you're dead. My perfect, happy life is built on you being dead." "Wow," I said. "That's a terrible foundation for a relationship. What happens when a strong wind comes? Or, the truth?" He leaned in close. His hand touched my arm. Another memory exploded in my brain. The hospital room. The drug. His hand on my arm, holding me down. The name of the drug flashed in my mind. Narcosetamine. A powerful, rare sedative used to put patients in a temporary death-like state. "And now I remember what you used to fake my death," I whispered. "Narcosetamine." He looked like he wanted to kill me right there on the conference table. "You can't prove anything," he snarled. But I could. My memory was coming back in fits and starts, all thanks to his touch. Suddenly, the door opened. It was Taro. He looked from me to Hiroshi. "What are you two doing in here?" he asked, his voice suspicious. "Nothing, darling," Hiroshi said smoothly, putting on a fake smile. "I was just welcoming the new employee." I knew I had to be careful. Hiroshi was dangerous. But I also had a secret weapon, my body, and its perfect memory of what his hands had done. Over the next few weeks, I kept my head down. I was an excellent accountant. Everyone loved me. I was Tanaka-san, the guy who never makes a mistake. Hiroshi watched me like a hawk, but he couldn't do anything. He couldn't have me fired because I was too good. It was a weird sort of career limbo. The worst part was seeing Taro. It was like a knife to the gut every time. He was happy. He was engaged to a man who had tried to murder his ex-boyfriend. It was a really messed up situation. One day, I was working late. Taro was working late too, in his office. Hiroshi was supposed to be at a conference, but I knew he was in the building. I'd seen his car. I was tired of the games. I walked into Taro's office. He looked up, startled. "Who are you?" he asked. "What do you want, Tanaka-san?" This was the moment. I had to tell him, but to prove it, I needed something else. "I'm Kenji," I said, hoping he'd believe me. "I know you think I'm dead, but I'm not." "Taro," I said, my voice soft. "When I proposed to you, I was so nervous I tripped over the cat and spilled the ring into a bowl of ramen. We had to pick it out with chopsticks." His eyes widened. He gasped, his hand flying to his mouth. "Only he knows that. Only Kenji knows that." "It's me," I said. I wanted to hug him, but I had to be careful. Hiroshi could be listening. "I don't remember everything. It's like waking up from a really, really long nap. But I remember that. And I know it was Hiroshi who did this. He used a drug called narcosetamine." Just then, Hiroshi appeared in the doorway. He was holding a syringe. You just couldn't stay dead, could you?" he sighed, sounding more annoyed than evil. "This is getting old." "What are you doing?" Taro yelled, standing up. "What is that?" "This is a little something that will make it look like Tanaka-san here had a sudden, fatal heart attack," Hiroshi said, advancing on us. "A tragic end for a promising young accountant. Then, Taro, we can finally get married." Taro was frozen in shock, but my body, my traitorous body, was already reacting. I remembered the feel of his hands, the way he moved. I lunged forward, grabbed his wrist, and twisted. The syringe clattered to the floor. I had the element of surprise. He was a doctor, used to people staying still. I was a dead man who had a lot of repressed anger. Taro snapped out of it. He grabbed his phone. "I'm calling the police. I have a recording, too. I've been recording all my conversations for the last week. I thought you were acting strange." Hiroshi looked at me, then at Taro, and for the first time, he looked scared. He tried to run, but he was clumsy. He tripped over the wastepaper basket and fell flat on his face. Taro had him pinned down until the security guards arrived. It wasn't exactly a heroic takedown, but it was effective. The police came. They found the drugs in Hiroshi's car. My memory, pieced together with Taro's testimony and the hospital records, told the whole story. Hiroshi had been so jealous of my promotion that he decided to get rid of me. He drugged me, made it look like an aneurysm, signed a fake death certificate, and then, when I didn't actually die, he'd panicked and dumped me in the cemetery. He'd then swooped in to comfort a grieving Taro. It was a trashy plan, but it almost worked. He was arrested for attempted murder and fraud. That last part was for selling fake life insurance policies to dead people, which was apparently a side hustle. The hardest part was explaining to everyone at work that I wasn't Tanaka Kenji, but the original, very much alive Sato Kenji. There was a lot of confused paperwork. But my boss was just happy to get his best accountant back. A few months later, my memory was mostly back. Some things were still fuzzy, like a dream I couldn't quite grasp, but the important things were clear. The most important thing was Taro. We had a long talk on the roof of the building where he proposed to me the first time. The ramen incident was a much better story, honestly. It's okay that you moved on, I said. You thought I was dead. But I didn't, he said, his eyes wet. I felt it. In here. He put a hand over his heart. I thought it was just grief. But it was you. I was waiting for you. I just didn't know it. He leaned in and kissed me. The last piece of my memory clicked into place. The laughter, the fights, the promises. We were a little more battered now, a little wiser. But we were us. We didn't have a big wedding. We went back to the ramen shop where he'd proposed the first time. The old lady who ran the place remembered us and gave us a free bowl of noodles. I got down on one knee, a new ring in my hand. This time, I said, grinning, I'm not gonna drop it. He laughed. Good, because if you do, I'm eating it. I didn't drop it, and this time, no one faked my death. We got married, moved back into a new apartment, and lived our happily ever after. I even kept the plastic funeral wreath. I hung it on the wall as a reminder. A reminder that even when you're dead, life can find a way to start over. Especially if you remember to laugh about it.